For the past 2 years, my life looked fine on the outside, but internally I felt stuck, anxious, and constantly wanting more. I felt like there was this massive hole in my life, or this persistent feeling that something was missing, despite having everything. And that is until I started practicing gratitude. I used to think gratitude was some corny word or some cliche that people would throw out there, not wanting to deal with their real problems. And I would complain about what felt like very real struggles, and people would say, "Hey man, don't you think you should be a little more grateful?" And of course, I would always respond saying I was grateful, but the truth is, my negative thought patterns persisted, and they never changed. And gratitude isn't just a word like I originally thought. It's an emotion. It's something that you should truly feel, and it's something you need to embody rather than just saying it. And like I said, from an outside perspective, everything looked great. I was taking a full college course load, receiving A's, competing in collegiate baseball, working a part time job, maintaining a social life. Yet internally, I was still unhappy. And what made it even more confusing is that I felt guilty for feeling that way. Like I had no right to be unhappy because I had been doing everything I was supposed to do on paper and my life was good. And I had always heard that gratitude was this magical pill that could fix so many things in my life, and eventually I decided to give it a real try, although I was still convinced that it wasn't going to do anything meaningful in my life, and I was wrong. And I remember this moment vividly because it genuinely changed the trajectory of my life. I woke up one morning and sat down to meditate, and like most beginners, my ego was panicking at the thought of relinquishing control or deviating from my normal morning routine. My body was restless, my thoughts were racing, and it felt like trying to calm a puppy down who you would just take into the park for the first time. But something shifted around the 10-minute mark. Once I got past that initial resistance and my mind began to quiet, I started thinking about the people, the experiences, and the circumstances I was grateful for, and but not in a neutral or intellectual way. I began to really feel it and embody gratitude. And I wasn't just listing things on a journal. I wasn't, saying or expressing my thank yous. I was genuinely feeling the overwhelming appreciation, almost like realizing that God or the higher power had been present in every single aspect of my life all along. And it just took the realization of that to really change my life. I had tried other forms of gratitude before, writing lists, saying my thank yous, expressing appreciation to people in my life and the circumstances that came up. And while those things were valuable, none of them actually changed my inner state. Meditation was really the only way I could experience gratitude deeply enough for it to change and actually rewire me. Because before I could change my thoughts, I had to observe them. And becoming the observer of that voice is the most powerful first step you can take because that awareness carries into the rest of your day. And if you don't replace those old patterns and beliefs, they will quietly take back control. And most of the time, you won't even see it happening. Practicing gratitude gave me a way to interrupt that process. And the inner voice, let's be honest, for most of us is like a shitty roommate. It never goes away and it always creates problems for us, and most of the time we listen to it without even questioning whether or not it's saying the truth. And oftentimes we just conform to it. And I've lived most of my life filled with negative thoughts, and once I started to observe them, they lost their weight. But they needed to be replaced, and that is where gratitude came in. And the best way I could explain this is a rusty car. You can paint over a rusty car to make it look brand new. That's the behavior changes. But until you address the rust, the problems still persist. And meditation and gratitude addresses that rust in order to create a more solidified outer life that's not just painted over with habits and behaviors and things that don't represent the inner state. At my lowest point, I wanted to overcome bad habits and I wanted to be of more service to others and I wanted to actually get the most out of my life, but all of it felt impossible. And the reason massive change feels so attainable sometimes is because we try to force it externally. without transforming what's happening internally. It's like trying to add on all these new habits and getting rid of all the bad habits, and you may start it and you may start it, and eventually it's going to go away and you're going to revert back to the old person and you wonder why. And gratitude was that change for me because I was transforming from the inside out first. And suddenly the things I used to resist became frictionless. Habits I struggled to maintain started happening naturally, and it wasn't because I forced myself harder. It was because my inner state was changed. And I'd always believed that transformation required controlling the outside world, but I didn't realize that external change becomes a byproduct of inner alignment. And I want to pause here and ask you a question. In what areas of your life are you running on autopilot? Where are you so focused on what's wrong that you unintentionally creating more of it? Because everyone has problems, and when your attention is constantly locked in on them, they multiply. But can you be grateful for what already exists in your life? And for most of you watching this, just like me, you have a home, you have food, you have family or some sort of connection, you have opportunities that you once prayed for but now overlook, and yet you might still feel unhappy. And why is that? And gratitude doesn't instantly fix everything. It doesn't eliminate struggle or make life perfect. Practicing gratitude for just 10 to 15 minutes in the morning can spark change, but it still requires you to be conscious and aware of your thoughts throughout the day. It means observing the ungrateful thoughts as they arise. It means choosing appreciation when your default reaction is frustration. And that level of awareness takes effort. And it takes consistency. And honestly, it's really uncomfortable. Nobody wants to watch their thoughts 24/7. And it's the reason why we get stuck in these patterns and these habits. And it's the reason why we snap at a loved one. Or we do things we're not proud of. And then we look back on and we say, why did we do that? And the reward is worth it when you really practice gratitude, because the commitment to inner change is what limitless growth is all about. And once you start, it's really hard to stop because you see the changes and you notice them happening and it feels good. Now, if you're in a season where you feel stuck or disconnected, I'm not saying gratitude will be some magical pill that'll fix everything. I'm just saying it helped me reconnect with my life. And this channel is about becoming the best version of yourself. So if any of this resonates with you, give me a follow, subscribe. I appreciate y'all.